This is Greater MSP Business with Cindy Brucato, presented by U.S. Bank.
Hello everyone and welcome to Greater MSP Business. Our region's manufacturing companies are riding the wave of the reshoring trend. Manufacturing that went to Asia in the 90s, now coming back to the United States. Let's start by taking a close look, and you need a close look, at these tiny particles that are made by the Aveka Group in Woodbury, a spinoff from 3M. Today, microspheres are used in everything from medical devices to cosmetics to food and a lot more than that. Willie Hendrickson is the founder and CEO of the Aveka Group. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Cindy.
You know, let's start out with, we have this array of products here, and I said, you know, they kind of look like sprinkles you put on cookies, but they are not. What is particle technology?
So, Cindy, particle technology is taking large materials and breaking them down into small particles and then giving them the functionality that they can be used in different products like printing inks, like in food products, like in abrasives.
What is the advantage of a particle form to any other kind of matter?
As it turns out, most of the products that we use, whether it's a food product or an industrial product, are always in particulate form. It's easier to handle them, it's easier to move them around, and we actually only usually need very small amounts. And so particle technology just fits in very nicely.
Now this was a spin-off from 3M. How did that come about? And
Well,
you were an employee of 3M.
In 1994, I was working in 3M's corporate research. It was absolutely a great place to work, it still is. And they were going to close a pilot plant that I was running, and I raised my hand, you know, some people say like a fool, and said, will you sell it to me? And I bought a pilot plant from 3M and started my business.
Did you realize that there was a business that could be done with this, even though 3M had already finished with it?
Well, yes, it was. I had been involved in a number of outside groups outside of 3M, and I was pretty aware of the technology and the industry and business going on. And I thought, well, I think with this equipment and this technology, I can start my own business.
Who are your customers now?
Well, typically my customers are Fortune 500 companies from the United States and around the world. We work with smaller companies too, but in general, it's a bigger company that comes to us.
And again, it's all kinds of materials that you supply these particles for. We mentioned food and cosmetics and medical technology. And we have a sampling here. So this green?
So that product there, that's a product that's used in kitty litter. It's actually, there's a microencapsulated fragrance in there. And when the cat pees on it, it actually releases the fragrance and it makes it much nicer for the homeowner.
Maybe I better switch to that brand. I got a couple of cats. It's not quite working out. Okay, these little silver things that really do look like, you know, the cookie decorations.
Those aren't cookie decorations. Those are silver-coated glass beads. And I brought those just because it gives you another example of particle technology. We've never found a use for them. They just were just,
all right.
they were just interesting to
so
make.
What do you do these? Okay, we've got kind of a springtime theme here with the orchid and the yellow. What are those?
Well, exactly. So one of them is a bead that we make out of a seaweed material called alginate, and that's used in a bathroom system to actually release active ingredients. So that's an active ingredient delivery system. The yellow beads are very similar to these blue and red beads over here. Those are jojoba beads that are actually used in cosmetics for facial exfoliants.
Okay, and that is that deep purple with the liquid in it there.
Well, those are the same beads as the purple ones over here. They just haven't been dried yet. So you actually make them in a liquid and then you dry them.
And I would assume that in that process is when they become smaller like that.
Yep, exactly,
right.
exactly.
And finally, in the middle here, a tiny vial of some black crystals. What's that?
Well, those are permanent magnets. You have refrigerator magnets on your refrigerator. These are those magnets that have been ground up, and then what we do is we coat them, and we use these in a device that we invented many years ago. We call it MACE, or Magnetically Assisted Impact Coating. And what we have here is a device that actually causes the magnetic particles to move around, and we use these magnetic particles to coat other smaller particles. So in fact, one of the things that we use this for is to make specialty pigments that go into black and white ebooks.
So these move around, they impart to a smaller particle. That particle is part of the black or white pigment that you see, well, that illuminates essentially an e-reader.
Exactly, exactly. So, you know, it's interesting for us. We have, what we've just talked about here is we talk about animal care, we talk about personal care, we talk about microelectronics, but particle technology in the business that we do might even go into automotive or food products or many other areas.
Now, the regulatory environment for this must be pretty complex because you've got so many different kinds.
It's actually spectacular. We spend a lot of time understanding what we need to do. So we have specialty quality people and engineers to actually make sure that we're doing it right, and it's right for our customers too. So a lot of technology goes into understanding and producing these materials.
What kind of people do you hire? What kind of background do they need?
Well, we hire many operators that, you know, high school education is just fine, but we actually hire quite a few chemists, chemical engineers, biologists, physicists, business development people too, to help us grow our business.
Just like at 3M.
It's exactly the same.
You know, we have such a diverse business background here in the Twins, so many different kinds of businesses in our region. Does that give you the exposure to businesses that you, because your clients are all over the world?
Well, you know, it's not a bad place to be a spinoff from 3M. What a great place, because everybody knows 3M. But having the Cargills and the General Mills and the Eco Waters here, the Eco Labs here, tremendous exposure to different technologies, and it's been really good for us to be here in the Twin Cities.
With your client base, as you mentioned, mostly in the U.S., but also all over the world, have you seen the reshoring activity that we mentioned in our introduction?
Well, absolutely. As it turns out, because we're a contract manufacturer, we manufacture these materials for our customers based on their specifications. We have seen this just absolutely take off in the last 5 or 6 years, where more and more companies, they're not willing to invest in capital, but they'll come to us so we can actually make for them. So my business has been growing by leaps and bounds.
What are the factors that have moved this back?
You know, I think there's two things. Number one is people get very nervous about products coming from overseas. I think that the wages and costs overseas have gone up, and so therefore it makes sense.
It's not the competitive wage advantage that it was 15 years ago.
I still think that's there. I mean, you hear the stories. But, you know, I think what it is customers are looking for somebody that they can trust. My business customers are looking for somebody that they can trust. And here we are in Minnesota. I mean, it's the land of trustworthiness, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Where everybody's above average.
Exactly.
Willie Hendrickson from Aveka Group, thanks for joining us this morning.
Well, thank you, Cindy.
I really appreciate it. Next, a St. Paul manufacturer with a specialty in the high-tech wiring that keeps the president hooked up to his BlackBerry.